Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Chiefs Digest Live Q&A. I am Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest. 7:01, so I'm feeling pretty good about the initial start. Hopefully, everybody can give, if anybody hears any problems, you can give me an update. But hopefully, I know the microphone's the right microphone this week, so hopefully and there's no audio issues or anything of that nature. Hope everybody having a good week. There's a lot going on in Chiefs Kingdom, so I imagine there will be quite a few questions. Tonight. Obviously, our good friend Nick Jacobs will be joining us in a little bit, and we'll be answering your questions as well. So if you've got anything specific you want to talk with Nick about, hang on till Nick shows up, and we'll get you all taken care of there. We'll see how many people show up. I know it's Thanksgiving week. There's a lot of people who are busy, a lot of things going on. So, and as always, I'll answer the questions till the end. If at all possible. So feel free to fire it up. It doesn't. I mean, first of all, I guess because I showed up on time-ish, not a lot of so far early questions, and I got a scroll running at the bottom. So for those of you who have not heard all of the news of the day, all the transactions over the last 24, 36 hours are on there. If you got any questions about those, feel free to fire away. Yes, Cody, I beat you. You can put up a comment to make sure it's not getting in the way of my scroll. And no, I did not beat Chuck. Chuck was here first. Good evening, Chuck, and good evening, everybody. Luttrell also always here before I am, so that's to be expected. Chris, celebrating Raider Week. That's right. And Steam and Demon, you were the fourth comment, and you got here before I did. I think I came in right before Sharon. So, yes, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Dockster, also, everybody in. I was gonna say I'll probably just dive straight into the questions tonight. So if anybody's got anything, make sure to fire away. Feel free to let me know, because like I said, I'll just let the transactions kind of go on there for anybody who hadn't seen them, and they'll be up there throughout the night. Any other, if we get any other, main questions that we kind of get a lot during the evening, just so we don't answer them, I might take advantage of that scroll going forward and just put it up there every week with some of the more common answers to some of the basic questions. But anything I'm going to talk about tonight, monologue wise, I think you're going to probably come up in the questions about the transactions and everything. So might just go ahead and dive into it. W&MB, off-field injury for Schrader. What in the world of sports is going on there? I mean, it's as it was told to me, it was a pretty freak thing. I mean, the Chiefs didn't have a practice on Monday. Some players were coming in. It was a little bit different than a typical Monday. Most of the time, after a situation like this, Chiefs would give most of the players Monday off. Guys might be coming in for treatments. There could be some meetings that they would be coming in for. So there could be exceptions. But I know that from what I was told, yes, Spencer Schrader was just working out on his own when he suffered the hamstring injury. Could have been on his own in the facility. I mean, it just wasn't part of a practice or a team workout or anything like that. So, I mean, it's a freak thing. These things happen. So, I don't think that there's anything significant there, WMB. I mean, it's just one of those things that, and I don't know if he was lifting weights or kicking or what the specifics were. I haven't heard. I just was told that he was working out on the side when this happened. So, it's a freak injury. It's really weird. And, I know from talking to one person in the organization today, it's just like, they've never seen this many issues, and right now they've got more lockers assigned in the locker room than they've ever had before. They brought in some extensions that they normally only use during training camp and the end of preseason, that they bring into that locker room, or during OTAs when they've got 90 players on the roster. So they brought this extension in that provides them with probably about another dozen lockers. And even now they're starting to run out of space because guys keep getting hurt, and the practice squads are bigger now and everything. So I was told today that they have never had this many players in the organization at this time of season. So between the expanded practice squads and the injuries this team has suffered this year, it's, I mean, crazy. It really is. So a fluke thing. WNB, it really was. I mean, I haven't had any reason to believe that there's anything suspect about it. It's just one of those freak things that happens. And Chiefs were very fortunate that Matt Wright was available. This is a guy that they would love to have signed a couple of weeks ago when Harrison Butker got hurt, but he was with the 49ers. He was actually on their injured reserve list because he got hurt trying to make a tackle back in October. So a lot of weird stuff going on in the world of kickers. And I mean, obviously the Chiefs, even in 2022, I don't think they went through this many kickers. I know they had, that was the year Matt Wright came in and filled in for Harrison Butker with the high ankle sprain, but I think it was just those two guys that year. This has been pretty crazy. So like I said, I don't think there's anything suspect, nothing too out there. It's just a freak injury, really. Steamin' Demon, I expect NFL offices to be closed Thanksgiving. What is the deadline to put Pacheco on the 53? Hey, I'm glad to say that there is no off day in the NFL offices. So Thursday is the deadline. 3 p.m. Thursday is the deadline for any roster moves to be made for Friday's game. That's not only the deadline for Pacheco and a Minihue being put on the 53. It's that 3 p.m. Thursday is also the deadline if the Chiefs want to elevate any practice squad players for Friday. Matt Wright was signed to the practice squad, so I will expect him to be a practice squad elevation. If the Chiefs want a third tight end on Friday, they would need to do that, so that could be another practice squad elevation. Obviously, they could be down a linebacker with Cam Jones not practicing on Tuesday with an illness. So, there's a few different things the Chiefs might need to be figuring out for Friday. Probably will need both of their practice squad elevations to deal with this. But no, Steamin' Demon, all those deadlines will be on Thursday, 3 p.m. So I'm already scheduling that in around my Thanksgiving dinner plans. So we'll be having news on that for you on Thanksgiving, unless the Chiefs, they could make the announcement, and I was actually told today they might even make the announcement Thursday morning, because they will be doing a walkthrough at the facility Thursday morning, so there will be a lot of team employees there then, and then team will be checking in to the team hotel Thursday night, so they got a little break in between there to have Thanksgiving dinner with their families. So we might get the news of it early on Thanksgiving morning rather than having to wait until the 3 p.m. deadline. But that is the deadline for any and all the roster moves that they want to make. Brandon, Matt, if Mahomes throws his next touchdown to Travis Kelce, who gets the ball? Mahomes will be led in touchdowns and Kelce will beat Gonzalez. Ooh, that's a good question, Brandon. Yeah, I guess the best solution would be just if you're Mahomes, don't throw your next touchdown to Travis. Yeah, I mean, in a situation like that, they might give the ball to the team. I mean, I could see them deciding, hey, if it's an important ball to both those guys, maybe they give it to the team to put into the Chiefs Hall of Fame. Honestly, Pro Football Hall of Fame might want it. That's a pretty valuable football. Would be a pretty significant football. So I could see some other parties being interested in that football. And I imagine, hey, I think that both Patrick and Travis would be fine if that ball went to the Hall of Fame, either the Chiefs Hall of Fame or the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, you're right. I mean, I hadn't thought about that. That's pretty cool. If that happens with that football, I'll have to ask some questions, make sure people know about that. Make sure that they've got it figured out where that football would go to. I think that would be pretty cool. So, if that happens, I think it would be. I mean, it would be perfect for the Chiefs Hall of Fame. Absolutely. I mean, that bare minimum, that's where that ball should go, I think. And I think those two guys would be cool with it. Cody, have you seen the Hollywood video from him catching the jugs machine today? Have indeed, Cody, and you know what? I mean, I'll see if I can be pretty fancy here. For those of you who have not seen it, I know there's let's see how fancy I can be. Now, if the question is just, hey, what's this about, Hollywood? How does this impact Hollywood status? Where is he in his recovery? I mean, it's good. I mean, the only thing I would even note my only note from that video would be, be great to see it with the left arm. I mean, that's where the injury was. So, it's I think even from looking at that video, I would think, he's got some work to still do recovery wise. Obviously, it's a great sign. For anyone asking, like about, what's the status with the team as far as the injured list goes, everything. I mean, nothing's really changed because he's not practicing with the team. That was working out on his own. So nothing really significant there from that kind of a change. I mean, it's definitely it's a nice thing to see, absolutely. But like I said, it's not during practice or anything of that nature. So it's not something that you would. I mean, we're not looking at this and saying, hey, this is a sign that Hollywood's back and he's practicing with the club and he's been designated to return, anything of that nature. So let's see. I'm trying to see if I can get it up here for you all. There we go. And I have to keep clicking on this to replay it and everything a couple of times. But there you can see catching some passes from the jugs machine with the right arm. Like I said, be great when you start seeing it with the left arm. It's good to see right now, but he's got a ways to go. I would still think it's going to be at least a week or two, if not more, before he gets clearance to return to practice. And then obviously they would be able to open up the 31-day window where he can practice before as he's getting up to speed and getting ready to go. So I mean, I'm still expecting at least Christmas Day before his return. The Chiefs would love to be able to get him into at least a game or two before the end of the regular season. Postseason was always the 100% goal, but if they can get him out there earlier, the better. Great. It's a good sign, obviously. To see him out there practicing is fantastic, at least in some form. But like I said, I mean, I guess I should back there and say not technically practicing, working out. Because he's not out on the practice field with the team, has not been designated to return yet. But that was a really good sign to see. And like I've said before, Hollywood's been around the team now for a few weeks. They've been in the locker room, and working out with the team. So it's been a good, opportunity for the players to have him around. Today, Andy Anger, all of the new and old football gods. I tell you what, I mean, Chiefs feel like it. Absolutely. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries, obviously, a lot of weird injuries. The number of injuries to the tight end position, obviously, has been crazy. Kicker position has been crazy. And hey, getting a tackle in here, getting DJ Humphries in here with the knee injury that Wanye's continued to play through and that bone bruise is pretty important. So I mean, if you're the Chiefs, knock on wood that there aren't going to be any more injuries down the road. This has been a tough little stretch for them, but there's been a lot going on. You're right. I don't know if anybody angered the gods yet, Cody, but makes you wonder, doesn't it? Chris, the Chiefs appear to be primed for another beatdown by the Raiders on Black Friday. Is this becoming a holiday tradition like no other in Kansas City? I mean, Chris, where's the confidence here, Chris? I don't see it happening. I mean, I do not see the Raiders coming in here and giving the Chiefs much of a fight, for a lot of reasons. I mean, one, the Chiefs in the game that they played against Carolina, I've sensed a lot of, really frustration with that game and how it played out, and not a negative. I mean, I think it was there. I certainly got a sense of a lot more back to business this week and some seriousness of intent. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, Andy's going to be managing this team in a specific way this week to get them ready, to get them healthy for this game on Friday. Because there's just a lot to be. I mean, they need rest. That team absolutely needs it. They got 2 practices this week, one on Tuesday, another one on Wednesday. The one on Tuesday, no pads, no helmets. It's going to be the same way Friday. It's just a lot of walkthroughs, game plan in place, getting it all done. This is not the week to be hitting or working on anything like that technique wise. This is all about execution, getting the game plan down. And this team knows what happened last Christmas. and they don't want it to happen again. They want to the deal with the Raiders. So, I mean, I've never been more confident in a Chiefs win. I mean, I just do not see this team having a letdown on Friday. I don't see them having a problem on Friday against the Raiders. I think they're going to win this game. Question is just going to be whether it's going to be another close one that they win by 3, or whether they can stretch out a bigger, blowout win. But I'll admit, I mean, I'm pretty confident in this team's winning this game. I mean, I know it's got a big point spread again. Chiefs just seem to have difficulty putting away teams when there's a big spread, but I mean, they're going to win this game. I feel it from just like I said, the business atmosphere around this team this week, the lesson that they learned last Christmas. So I've got no concerns about this team having a letdown this week, Chris. You take it to the bank. I'm betting on it. There you go. It's my guarantee. I don't think I've ever done this before. I'm guaranteeing the Chiefs are going to win this week. WMB, couldn't Niang have been trained as a potential guard? Seems a waste to cut him when they may need him next year. I mean, there's certainly a possibility that Lucas Niang could be back. I mean, you never close the door on anybody. I mean, even with Cam Thomas getting waived, there's always a possibility if he clears waivers, he's back on the practice squad. There's always potentially opportunities to reunite in these situations. With Niang's situation, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, he has not been the same player since the patella injury, and that's not his fault. That's just the nature of that injury. I feel, I've mentioned this before, I feel a little kinship for anybody who has a patella tendon injury tear in the NFL, because I've had 2 of them, one on my left side and one on my right, about 10 years apart. And so as a result, I mean, I've done a lot of research about the injury and the recovery process. And, I mean, here's the crazy thing. In the NFL, as my recollection off the top of my head, I believe that the average length of a career after a patella tendon injury, something like 1.7 years. So honestly, I mean, the crazy thing is that that's all about what Lucas has been since the knee injury, I believe. I mean, I guess he's got a little bit longer than that, because he suffered that, I think, in week 16 as his rookie season. And then missed a big chunk of year 2, came back in year 3, got halfway through year 4. So he actually might be right about there, I guess. It's pretty close to it. That is a brutal injury to recover from. I mean, and there's a lot of players who never come back from a patella tendon, and it's even worse. I think it's a really hard one for an offensive lineman, because you've got to be able to not only bear weight on that, and I can attest that getting the strength back from just being able to support weight and strength standpoint is really tough after a patella tendon. So I feel for Lucas, because that's a really tough injury to come back from, and he did it. But the Chiefs did give him some work at guard. They've tried him out there and tested him. And I think that's where it comes down to, WMB, is that, the Chiefs have a long line of either guards or potential guards for next year. I mean, obviously, potential right now of 2 openings. I mean, I still think there's probably only going to be one. I mean, I think the Chiefs really, really need to sign Trey Smith, and maybe there's 2. I mean, if Joe Thuney wants to come back on a team friendly deal, I mean, I'm not going to close the door on that. But then you've got Hunter Norzad, who the Chiefs really like, CJ Hansen, who I think has got a lot of potential. There's a lot to like there. And then, I mean, the Chiefs have tested Wanye Morris at guard. So if he's not the long-term solution, if the Chiefs go out and get a free agent left tackle, or they draft a left tackle early next year, or Kingsley becomes the answer at some point, then hey, Wanye is added to that mix, and Niang just would go further and further down the list. So I mean, I think it's a little bit of it, is probably just a realization that, hey, he's not going to be if he's not going to be an option at tackle, and he's going to be in the line at guard, and you need the practice squad space, then that's where he just becomes a numbers game for Lucas Niang. So, and like I said, I mean, never say never. Chiefs have brought players back before in these situations. So I'm not betting, and I'll never bet against Lucas Niang. He has worked his butt off, and he has been a a real trooper for this team. So never know what's going to happen. Let's go to Jesus with a super chat. Appreciate that, Jesus. And as always, anybody who is a member here or does a super chat, you always move to the top of the line over here. So, Jesus, are there any questions the Chiefs did when what they did when they received the F letter last season? Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Jesus. Always appreciate seeing you around here and appreciate the questions and the support. But a great supporter here, Jesus. I really truly appreciate you. Very, very thankful for you this year, Jesus. You've been amazing, supporting Chiefs Digest and the channel here. The Chiefs have made a lot of small changes. I mean, there's still some big things that they need to do, and even, little things, big things, whatever. I mean, that's the players would appreciate. I mean, last year when the survey was done, I guess timing wise, the I'm not even sure if the changes in the locker room when they did the survey were completely done. And by the locker room, I'm talking about the stadium locker room. And even the stadium locker room, it's really nice. I mean, it's nice changes, but it's a lot of cosmetic changes. There wasn't a lot behind the scenes that was done. So I don't know if it meant as much to the players as maybe ownership hoped. But there's one thing that, I think that their grades will probably be a little bit higher this year, depending on when the survey is done. I mean, if it's done this time, I think it was done around November in the past couple of years. If it's done the same time, then this will all factor into it. But the big change the Chiefs made in the offseason was they built a brand new cafe and restaurant, basically, inside. And it's amazing. We got to see it a couple of weeks ago when the Chiefs were practicing indoors. And since it was the first indoor practice, it was the first time the media has gone over to the indoor facility. And when they take us in there, we go up to the upstairs of the indoor facility, and there's a loft area up there, I think you might call it. But to get there, you have to walk through the cafe. And before, I think they basically just called it a lunchroom. I'm not quite sure what it was. And it was pretty basic, cafeteria. I mean, you could go up and you could get the meal of the day, whatever it is, at the counter and trays and everything. And then there were some cereals and chips and, this kind of stuff and some drinks. But now, they have got like a wall of vending machines that have like every drink and recovery drink and all of these things imaginable. And I say vending, I don't think the players have to pay for them now. So I think that's all free. There's a wider menu now. They've got a lot more foods. It looks like they've expanded their staff, and they've always had great cooks there. We get a chance to eat the food that the players and the coaches eat during draft week. And I can tell you, they do an absolutely fantastic job. So it's always great tasting food. And they've got a lot more choices in there. Players love it. I know talking to the players this year, they'll come down and we'll bring lunch into the locker room during the open locker room period, because we're in there between like 11:45 and 12:30. And players love it. They raved about it. Love the food. Love the new options. There's a lot of healthy choices, proteins, salads, you name it. They're pretty pleased with that. Now, could they do more? Is there more for the Chiefs to do? Would the players love, say, an expanded parking lot, better parking spaces, wider parking spaces, all this? Yes, absolutely. Would they like the locker room redone? Absolutely. That's even more of a point this year, because bringing in the extensions into the locker room have pretty much put a kibosh on any basketball. There might have been other reasons for putting the kibosh on the basketball, but bringing in the locker room extensions certainly did that, because now it completely blocks off the area where you would be shooting. In the quote unquote basketball court, that locker room extension just goes straight into it. So, that's another thing. I mean, like I said, I mean, this was a small move forward. I don't know, Jesus, if it's going to move him from an F to an A, for, ownership, belief that ownership is putting money into the team, and for, they had some low ratings about dietitians and everything, because that, last year, I don't believe their dietitian was full time. I think they've added to that staff, and obviously, like I said, with the changes in the cafeteria now, they've actually got, a lot more options and choices when it comes to, their meals and dining and everything there. So players are pretty happy about that. So we'll see what it does. We'll see if it does boost up their grade, but I think there's a chance of it, because, like I said, the players are pleased with that. It's going to get them an A. I don't know if it's enough that. I think there's still enough work to be done that the players are going to be a little critical, but I think that's a nice move, and the Chiefs obviously have plans to continue upgrading things. The future of this team in the facility is absolutely going to affect things, because if they're going to build a brand new stadium somewhere in the metro and they're going to move this facility, they don't want to put $10 million into it, knowing that they're going to move. So, there's probably going to continue to be incremental changes, but I know they want to get things better. So we'll see what happens, Jesus. Great question. Dave, D-line looks gassed. They need a deeper rotation and fresher legs. I know if Nick was here, he would agree with me. We're going to both agree with you. I think the defensive line did look gassed. And, okay, Chris Jones played 85% of the snaps. Let me make sure I've got the right page up, because, yep, that's Carolina game. 85% against Carolina is only, I say only, it's only 53 snaps. 85%, I don't care. 85%, 53, whatever. 85% is a lot of snaps. Karlaftis was one behind him, 84%. Mike Danis, 68%. Tershawn Wharton, 63%. Then you get down to Mike Pennell, 35%. Derrick Nottie, 27%. Felix, 19%, just 12 snaps. Malik Herring, 10%. So, one thing for sure, looking at those numbers with, defensive end numbers for sure. You've only got 4 defensive ends. I'll throw in Joshua Uche. There's the 5th defensive end. He's listed as linebacker still, but he played 11 snaps, 18%. He's exclusively a third down guy, basically. But if your third down guy is, you only trust him for 11 snaps, and Malik Herring, then, if you just take Uche out and say he's third down, so we're not going to count him. We're just going to include your other 4 guys in your rotation as your 4 defensive ends that might be first down, second down, every down guys. If you're only trusting Malik Herring to play 6 snaps, that's a problem. And Felix, playing 12 might be related to the hand, that he banged up the week before. I certainly would like to see Felix playing more than that. I think the Chiefs would like to see him playing more than that. But when you've got Karlaftis playing 84% of snaps and Dana playing 68%, those need to be way lower. Those need to be, Karlaftis needs to be about 60%. If you want these guys to be playing 100, going 100% every single snap. Jones needs to be lower. 85% is too many. Especially with the way that he gets double teamed, there's no doubt why these guys are, gassed. And they need, this is why Charles Omenihu coming back should be huge. If they can get Charles Omenihu, if you look at the Carolina game, you get 30 snaps from Charles Omenihu. If you can get Karlaftis down from 52 to 40 snaps, you can get Dana down from 42 to, give him 30. I'm fine with that. 30 would have been about 50% of the snaps. 31 snaps would have been 50%. So you get him down 11, you get Karlaftis down 12. There's 23 snaps for Charles Omenihu. If Malik Herring, as a result, is not active, there's 6 more snaps. There you go. 29 snaps for Charles Omenihu. That's great. Now he's playing about the same number of snaps as Mike Dana is. And this isn't necessarily first game back for Charles Omenihu. He's going to need to ramp up a little bit. But those guys need to have, I mean, there needs to be, I get Karlaftis, you probably play a little bit more. He's younger. There's a little bit more legs there and everything. But honestly, I mean, when you get to the end of the season and you're getting ready for the postseason, I mean, you really need to have those guys more about 50% each. And like I said, maybe a little bit more for Karlaftis, maybe a little bit less for a Minihue, because he's not going to be 100% at any point this season. And so maybe you back off his snaps a little bit to make him, just keep him a little bit fresher. But you can't have Karlaftis and Dana playing the snaps they are. You can't have Chris Jones playing the snaps that he is. They need to get contributions elsewhere. I mean, and because Mike Pennell is about the right. I mean, 35%. I mean, Pennell's going to be playing in your toughest run downs. That's exactly where I would have him. They just need more contributions. You just can't. And Derrick Nottie, I mean, that 17 snaps, 27% is probably about where they want him. But the thing is that, I mean, they haven't really been able to or chosen to tap into Marlon Tuipulotu. That's another option. I don't know if they're going to at some point, but I know that, I mean, the Chiefs, I think they would like to be able to play 10 defensive linemen, but their numbers at other positions haven't allowed them to do that. So they've been playing 5, and they're going to play 5 defensive ends the rest of the way. But that 5th defensive end, I mean, if it's Charles Omenihu instead of Malik Herring, those numbers need to be in the 20s and not 6 snaps. It needs to be closer to 30 by the end of the season and when you get into the playoffs. So, yeah, Dave, they do need a deeper rotation. They need fresher legs. And there's an acknowledgement of that in the organization. There's an understanding of it. They're really, at this point, I feel like they've just been straining to the finish line a little bit to try and get to when Charles Omenihu comes back. But Omenihu can't come back soon enough for me. I mean, I think you've hit the head right on it. I mean, and if they had to play more snaps, because I think they played something like 72 snaps the week before against Buffalo, and those were some physical snaps. So, they absolutely need a deeper rotation and fresher legs. In theory, that should be coming soon for at least the edge guys. I don't know what they're going to do with the tackle situation. I mean, it might be just, and I'm not really displeased with a whole lot of the tackle numbers, except for, I mean, Chris Jones's numbers need to come down with the number of double teams he's facing. That's 85% of the snaps is a heavy workload, and it's making him less effective. So, yeah, get him fewer snaps, and I think you're okay. Nick is going to be joining us in a little bit, so yes, there is no doubt Nick Jacobs is a Black Friday enthusiast. I am 100% sure of that. And I know he's going to be a Black Friday football enthusiast, because that game on Friday, of course, is on KSHB 41. And Nick's got pregame and postgame show duties for us. So, Jackson, what is DJ Humphries' ceiling with the Chiefs? Good question, because I think there probably does need to be a little bit of moderation when it comes to Humphries coming in, for a couple of reasons. One is that obviously hasn't played football since January, and it looks like he's in good shape. The Chiefs feel like he's in good shape physically, but being in shape and football shape, not the same thing. So the expectation is that it's going to take a couple of weeks for him to just get into football shape. And then the question is he better option than Wanya Morris? The Chiefs, I mean, their favorite option, their number one option, is that Wanya Morris plays well enough to hold that position, and that DJ Humphries is insurance, and he's a backup, and he's your swing tackle. Now he might end up starting in 3 games. Who knows? I mean, in Wanya with the bone bruise, it could flare up again. That could get him to a point where Wanya is not playing, and you need DJ Humphries to start because Wanya's out. But the Chiefs definitely brought DJ Humphries in because they knew that they needed insurance at that spot. Because if anything happened to Juwan Taylor or Wanya Morris at this point, you're doing something you don't want to do if you're the Chiefs. You're either playing somebody like Kingsley or Ethan Driscoll at a tackle spot that you're not sure if they can handle. You don't know if they can handle it. Or you're moving Joe Tooney in that position. And now you're affecting a left guard position with, Mike Caliendo, Hunter Norzad, somebody else. So now that question is a little bit questionable now. So DJ Humphries coming in is absolutely 100% insurance. Did they bring him in to specifically start? Not necessarily. I mean, I think obviously the conventional wisdom, the consensus is that he's going to be probably a starter at some point. I'm not betting against it. But like I said, I mean, the Chiefs, they would love it if Wanya Morris played well enough in the next couple of games that they could say, Wanya, hey, he's playing well. He's the left tackle. He'll stay there, and DJ's there if we need him. So maybe Nick might have a different answer. I don't know. When he comes in, we'll ask him about that. Jeremy, the boys look really tired. I believe the whole three-peat will hinge on if the Chiefs get the bye. Why say you? I mean, obviously the bye will really help. Don't think there's any doubt about that. I still think that the NFL did Chiefs a big favor with the end of the season schedule, because even though you've got 3 games in 10 days, which totally stinks, by the way, not going to say sugarcoat it, it stinks. You're going to have to handle that a little bit. And you're going to have to probably cross your fingers. And hey, if you get into a blowout, you might need to just go ahead and wave the white flag and save somebody and save some. But remember, you're going to play on a Wednesday, and then you don't play again until Sunday for the final week of the season. That, to me, is a tremendous advantage as far as rest goes. That even if you don't get the 1 seed, the fact that you've got basically a mini bye going into the final week of the season, and then if you are in a position where that final week doesn't matter and you can rest starters if you want to, I mean, there's a lot of flexibility there. So, and the Chiefs could be in a spot. I mean, hey, if they get the 1 seed and week 18 didn't matter, I mean, you could really get these guys some rest. So, Nick tells me whenever I am, thinking about that end of the season sequence where you got the 3 games in 10 days and then you're going to have a 10-day layoff, Nick rightfully always tells me, don't worry about that until it happens. Don't worry about the bye weeks until it happens. Don't worry about the rest until it happens. He's right. So I'm trying not to worry about that until it all happens. But the Chiefs could be set up pretty well. I think that extra days of rest at the end after the Christmas Day game could be of benefit. I mean, hey, you get a week off and you don't have to play one more playoff game and a chance to lose. It's great. I mean, that would be fantastic for the Chiefs. Also fantastic for the Chiefs and for us is that we have a guy like Nick Jacobs around.
Hi, it's me. Hi.
Hey, Nick, how are you tonight?
I'm the enthusiast. It's me.
You're our Black Friday enthusiast, our Black Friday football enthusiast?
I'm an enthusiast of a lot of things. That can be one of them. We have a new one each week. Matt, do you want to play that promo?
I would love to play the promo.
Let's light this candle.
I saw the video. Well, let's take a look.
We're back, and do we have a deal for you? Black Friday is coming, and this will make it the best one yet. From the station that brought you the opening night triumph over Baltimore, it's the Chiefs versus the Las Vegas Raiders on KSHB 41. I know you're asking, Mick, that's great, but how much is it going to cost? Not a thing. No. Tune in to KSHB 41 Friday, November 29th, beginning at 1 p.m. for the best coverage of the best team in football. It's the Chiefs on the home of the Chiefs.
Kyle Haas put that one together. Good job, Kyle.
Kyle's fantastic, man. I would be very jealous of that little KSHB visor there and everything if I did not have my 41 as the mic hat.
Yeah.
So
well, you got that. That's all that matters.
I have I love my 41 as the mic hat, so I'm going to put it on.
Congrats on earning that one.
So, what's on your mind, Nick?
Nothing.
Nothing's going on in Chiefs Kingdom.
I am a blank canvas. Apparently, the Chiefs officially signed DJ Humphries. The Chiefs signed kicker Matt Wright to the practice squad with kicker Spencer Schrader sustaining a hamstring injury. in a workout Monday.
There you go. See?
Well,
And hey, if there's anything else that pops up we need to put in the scroll, Nick, we can put it in the scroll. See? So I'm now a master of the scrolls.
look at you. Look at you
There you
go.
We're
Jedi.
getting some
Jedi. If you live outside the Kansas City area, you're gonna have to get it off Prime Video. So the NFL allows for any game that is streamed or is on cable. There are two local markets can have the game over the air. That's a requirement. So KSHB 41 has the Black Friday game within the Kansas City market. How far that extends, not 100% sure. But that is within the Kansas City market. That's where we'll have the game at.
yes.
And we don't have app rights. That's NFL. The NFL owns that, and then technically Amazon Prime has that as well.
There you
streaming.
go. Jedi lives in Springfield, so
Oh yeah, Springfield.
that's going to be tough.
Not
And
gonna
hey, Jedi, Springfield native here, so I feel your pain.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wish we could help you on that, but we got to play by NFL and NFL's rules.
I know how that can roll. So, whoops, I clicked the wrong button and all the comments disappeared, but they're back now. So
yay, they're back.
All right. Well, I mean, unless Nick, if you don't have anything special, we can just dive into the questions. And
yeah, I'm sure you have something that is O-line or D-line that you've been waiting on.
I will. This question might be right up your alley with the offensive from Scott with the offensive line situation. What can the Chiefs do to slow down Max Crosby?
Max protect every single play. And I'm not talking actual max protect. I'm talking like the double X max protect. That's the closest you're gonna do is that, or get the ball out quick, or have quick routes to get the ball out quick that tire him out. Or the other way you slow him down is you run right at him. Those are the and tire him out that way. But he's gonna be a force this week. He's gonna be a problem when the Chiefs go back to pass, and they're gonna have to be mindful of where he's at, and they're gonna have to be mindful of their routes and how long it takes him to get to the backfield. And Mahomes is going to have that ball out, and Mahomes is going to have to be able to move around.
There you go. I guess this. Let me see. I think this question came in, and I'm gonna ask you the question because I probably think of a very good answer to it. But Jackson, what is DJ Humphries' ceiling with the Chiefs? What do you think that the Chiefs can get out of him?
Absolutely no idea because we've never seen him play since the ACL injury. So projecting that is impossible. I don't think the Chiefs know. I think the Chiefs are like, hey, here's what he did before. See if he can do it again, and then try to see if he can potentially be insurance for Wanya Morris, because at some point they're going to have to start somebody else at left tackle when things get real. Because Patrick Mahomes can't keep taking the hits that he's taking, plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, and from what I've heard from people I've talked to in the organization, I mean, I think that's a common vision that they share. They really, I mean, until he gets onto the field, and this week is not going to be an indication because the Chiefs are not doing any practices or padded practices, anything this week. So next week is really going to be the first time they're going to get a chance to see DJ Humphries in action on the scout team, and we'll go from there. Tyler has an interesting question because with the moves today, it kind of signals a little bit about what the Chiefs are thinking here. But do you guys think that the Chiefs will eventually sign a third tight end to the 53 and release a running back? Keeping 5 running backs on the active roster once Pacheco is back would be silly, in Tyler's opinion. But I mean, the way with all the moves the Chiefs made today, Nick, I mean, it was set up so that they're ready for Pacheco and Minihue to come back this week because they can add them both to the roster without any other moves. So they're clearly, for at least 1 week, going to carry 5 running backs. They can bring up a tight end from the practice squad. I mean, it would probably be Anthony Ferkser, but I mean, they're kind of just limited in options right now.
No, you're going to put Carson Steele as your third tight end.
That would be the question, and that's what you're
debate
doing. That we had today.
If I'm in their shoes, Carson Steele is going to be your guy who can block on the edge, and if you have to throw him some pass in the flats or kind of use him in some of those routes, then that's what you're going to do. And then at some point, they got to make the ultimate decision on Clyde Edwards-Helaire and what they actually want to do. Because he's been inactive, I think, pretty much every week since he came back.
And you bring up an interesting point. Because I'm going to bring up a point you brought up just a few minutes ago about dealing with Max Crosby and mass protecting. I mean, if you're the Chiefs now and you're going to be bringing a tight end to help out, why won't it just be a sixth offensive lineman?
It's a possibility too.
I
think they're going to have everything available to stop Max Crosby, and they're going to use it.
I mean, I would not be surprised if we do see a sixth offensive lineman more frequently than normal this week, especially, I mean, depending on what they do with that tight end spot. I mean, if they don't elevate an Anthony Firkser, I mean, that's really going to be their only option if they want three tight ends on Friday rather. And if not, I mean, it is probably going to be some combination of an offensive lineman and Carson Steele.
Yeah, no, that's my full expectation on that one.
Eshak. Who will be the starting receivers when Brown comes back? Do we feel the chemistry will be there come playoff time? I mean, I'm starting to feel like, and we kind of talked about this, I think, yesterday, Nick, just you and I, we should really start streaming our private conversations sometimes because
that's an awful idea.
They could be pretty informative, but
yeah, well, that also means it goes out publicly there, bud.
I mean, one, the Chiefs don't necessarily have a really good answer for who's going to be there. Well, obviously, okay, they have a good answer for eventually when Brown comes back. Brown's going to be the X as much as he can be. He's not going to be able to do 100% workload. I mean, he's probably going to end up sharing that job with probably like a Justin Watson. And then I would assume that you're going to have Xavier and McCole Hardman as basically your Z receivers, going to be doing a lot of motions, and then your slot receiver going to be some combination of Juju and DeAndre. I mean, that the way it looks like it's going to pretty much start to fall?
Yeah, so I mean, whenever Brown comes back, yeah, you're rotating Brown and Justin Watson. That's where you're putting them at, and that's what they're doing. And like you said, you're going to have Worthy and Hardman handle the other spot over there. And then you're going to rotate Juju and DeAndre to keep them fresh. They may both be on the field at the same time, and they may move them around and everything. But the Chiefs over the next 6 weeks are going to slowly start to build the chemistry with all of that collectively. And so I know people freaked out and got upset that Justin Watson had all the snaps he did at receiver last week. I don't know what to tell you. Like, oh, well, I do, and I'm going to tell you right now. But like,
he's their only X. He's their only outside guy.
Here's the thing. Right now, you've got to be mindful of how many snaps you're giving Juju and DeAndre. You've got to be mindful of that because just like Kelsey, you need to keep all three of them, and Kareem too. You need to keep all of them on pitch counts because of their age and how much wear and tear they've got overall. So somebody like Justin Watson eating those up and eating those snaps up right now in games that don't decide the Super Bowl, that's fine. Let him do that. Let him be the MVS decoy of this year. That's completely fine. Go for it. Swing for those fences. So the thing people just see a number and they're like, DeAndre needs to be out there more because the Chiefs should have won by 10. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter how many points they win by as long as they win, because I promise you, the only thing they care about right now is getting that number 1 seed. Because the bigger thing that the national media doesn't understand and never will unless they're Teddy Bruschi or Damian Woody, Rex Ryan will never understand this. And this is why he goes each week, stomps around and says, the Chiefs can't do this, the Chiefs can't do that. Guess what, Rex? You never won a championship. You don't know what it's like to have a target on your back each and every week. You don't know what it's like to play up to that level. And that's why you're on TV, bud, is because of those reasons. So whenever he put up that full screen for point differential and this and that, well, the Chiefs aren't doing this and the Chiefs aren't doing that. Hey, Rex, guess what? Chiefs are going to play every single playoff team in the playoff picture right now. They will play them by Christmas. They literally know what every single defense and offense did against them with what they show. So then they can branch off of that. So every single one of those teams who wanted to give the Chiefs their best shot showed everything that they've got available because they were trying to win their Super Bowl in week 5, week 2, week 1, week whatever the heck it is. And so the Chiefs know. So when the time comes around, they can do what they have to do. Because what the bigger thing is that people aren't understanding right now, especially on a national scale, is the Chiefs are chasing immortality. They are chasing a legacy that no other franchise has ever done before by winning 3 championships together to back to back to back. No NFL team's ever done that. The Chiefs are a handful of games, hopefully, away from doing that. That is what they are focused on. You think they care? You think anybody's going to talk about, hypothetically, if the Chiefs win the 3rd consecutive championship, you think anybody's going to care and be like, well, they lost that game to Buffalo in week 10 or 11? No, you don't. I don't even remember the records of any of the teams that won the Super Bowl from the regular season. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. Because when the biggest moment came around and they played in the Super Bowl, that's what you remember. Patrick Mahomes throwing to McCole Hardman in overtime to win that game, that's what you remember. You don't remember, they had that really bad Christmas Day game that they had multiple turnovers. You remember they lost the game. You don't necessarily remember everything about the game because you're too busy thinking and reflecting on, the moment when they actually won the Super Bowl, the AFC Championship in Baltimore. They did this or did that. So when I hear the Rex Ryans of the world and some of the other people, and Isaiah Standback, who was on NFL Network, ran his mouth, and I'm like, Isaiah, you never won a championship. Stop. So you don't understand what that's like. And when Teddy Bruschi and Damien Woody came out and said, like, they understood what the Chiefs are going through, they do, because they went through it. And Teddy Bruschi went through so many different evolutions and phases of that. He understands that more than any other analyst out there in the entire planet because he went through it. So I guess what I'm getting at here at the end of the day, what the Chiefs are going to do over the next 6 weeks is a lot like, hypothetically, the Thanksgiving meal hopefully all of you are going to have on Thursday. They're trying different varieties right now. They're like, all right, so we're going to put the green bean casserole right there. Then you're going to have the mac and cheese here. You're going to have the sweet potatoes right here. You're going to have the deep fried turkey or the ham or whatever you have. And so they're testing out this variety of how much they want to put on the offense plate. So whenever the playoffs comes around, that chemistry is built, those reps are done, and they don't necessarily care that, didn't have enough helpings of DeAndre Hopkins, didn't have enough in the regular season, because it doesn't matter right now. If Justin Watson goes out there and does 100% of the offensive snaps and DeAndre's only out there on 3rd downs and they convert every 3rd down and they win the game by 3 to 10 points, boom, great. That's all that matters, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the Chiefs get that number 1 seed. The Chiefs get that bye week that they all need because of how early their bye was, and the rest that Kelsey needs, that DeAndre can use, that Juju can use, that Holmes can use, and every single player on that team can use. Then they go chase the legacy. That's the whole reason they're even playing this year in that hopefully 2nd, 3rd, and Super Bowl week.
Hallelujah. That's all I can say. I'm with you.
Like people don't I'm just so annoyed by the national media with their, the Chiefs don't have enough style points. They didn't win by this much. Well, save that for if they're holding up a 3rd Lombardi trophy in February. It's not going to matter. But your comments will get played over and over again, though.
This isn't 1998 and trying to get into a BCS game. It's it's the NFL. No such thing as style points. It's whether or not you win the game. So, and I reiterate to buttress your point, to back it up. I mean, the Chiefs, with all of these injuries, they adopted a philosophy pretty early on in this season, which I think was a very smart philosophy. It was, all right, let's get this team ready to be 100% come January.
Right.
That's all it's about. It's about getting everybody ready. It was about getting Hollywood Brown healthy for January. When you get DeAndre Hopkins, it's an 11-week plan to get DeAndre Hopkins ready to go 100% come January. Not only physically, but as part of the playbook too. Everything that they're doing. When you get Pacheco back, it's about making sure that Pacheco's, when he's ready to come back, he's going to be 100%, and it's all going to be him and Kareem coming to playoffs. I mean, it's all they care about right now is they want to be playing their best football when wild card weekend or the divisional round weekend starts. It doesn't matter if they're playing their best football between now and then. That's when they want to play their best. And I can't argue with Andy Reid because it's pretty good. He's figured it out. He knows how to coach a team to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's done it, 4 times now in Kansas City? 5 times total.
He's kind of got it figured out. Already had you, Scott. I forgot about that. Oh, there we go. Luttrell. Was Cam Thomas a cut to make room for Humphreys? I mean, not really. I mean, the Cam Thomas cut was only just a number crunch. It was just to free up a spot on the roster for Humphreys, Pacheco, and a Minihue. It was part of that puzzle. So I think you'd probably just say it was more for. I don't know who you'd say it was more for, Nick. I mean, it's just a roster spot.
It's for Charles and Minihue.
It's a roster. It was a roster spot. That was really what it was.
It was for Charles and Minihue.
Yeah,
I'm just going to be blunt and say it. It was for a much better pass rusher. Even depending on his ACL, he's a better pass rusher than Cam Thomas. Plain and simple.
There you go. Brandon, what would you rather have, a pass rush or coverage in the back end of the defense?
A pass rush that terrifies a quarterback on every play and makes him throw the ball before he's ready.
There you go.
A front four that scares every single quarterback in the league. That's what you want.
Yes, I can't disagree with that. I want that. I want that. I mean, we've had that question before. You know, does a front four help your back end more, or does a good back end help your front four more? I think
front four helps everything. Helps the offense. Helps the special teams. Helps the coverage. Helps the scheme. Helps what blitzes you don't have to call because your front four is getting there. I'll touch on this because it gets a little bit more into it, and since Nick wasn't here for the first Hollywood question, in the injury question, but from Samuel, any idea what Hollywood has been up to? I get he has a collarbone injury, but what do players with this type of injury need to do to stay in shape? Well, I guess we could show you one thing because I showed this earlier, Nick, and I can let you maybe give your thoughts on this subject while I bring up the video of Hollywood being Hollywood. I just have to figure out where I left it. So. Hi, well, I stall while Matt is figuring out how to share his screen and find the video again. It's a pleasure to see all of you. I want you in the comment section to write in there right now, what is the one item you're looking forward to eating the most on Thursday? What is the one thing you have to do? What is your Thanksgiving tradition? I want that in the comment section, no matter what with this video.
There you go. Well, there's Hollywood working out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, not right now, but
earlier today or this week.
When he recorded the video, which we do not know when it is.
We do not know. No. And it is one arm, but okay.
Mm-hmm. That's a hard to make one hand catch. He's doing his hand-eye coordination, making the catch, securing it, and then tossing it back.
Yeah. So, that's what Hollywood is basically. You get a good snapshot there. He's not practicing. He hasn't been designated to return yet, so he's not doing any football work. That's the extent of what he's doing. I'm sure he's also doing a lot of leg works, what he can, and everything like that. But he's obviously somewhat limited in what he can do with upper body and arm and everything like that. But anything you can think of to add, Nick? Or
no, I'm just saying he didn't post that video by accident. He didn't put the clock that he does by accident, and Andy didn't get as excited as he did when I asked him the question last week by accident. Because I think you were there, right, Andy, or you saw it. Andy smacked his hand on that podium. He was pretty pumped up. He was happy to get that question. So, so I'm just saying, I'm very optimistic about where he's at after we constantly see that.
Yeah. This is an interesting question, Nick, because I think there's a lot of merit to this. Stumble and Mumble read that Humphreys sat on the bench his rookie year, even though he was a first-round pick. I think Humphreys will talk to Kingsley about the rough start. I've talked to a couple of people in the Chiefs organization, Nick, that do believe that DJ Humphreys can have a positive influence on both, not only Kingsley, but Wanye too. But they do think he can be a good role model for Kingsley.
I'm going to say this. that's another smart piece of that puzzle that the Chiefs need. Is they need a veteran presence there that can kind of take Wanye and Kingsley under their wing and talk to them about the NFL and what they've experienced and everything. And if Humphreys can be that guy, that's another big part of that investment, just like the way DeAndre and Juju are helping Worthy along and coaching him up and everything. The veterans you have that can coach the young guys up and teach them while you're trying to chase his history, that's worth those investments.
I completely agree, and I mean we'll see once we get to know him a little bit more and everything like that if it's a good fit and that's something that's actually going to happen. But the Chiefs, I mean, they're optimistic. I mean, and they do feel like that he can be somebody who can be a positive role model, and even if it's just once again, I mean, watching and learning another player for their technique. I mean, maybe it's just going to be that. Who knows? Is DJ Humphries the Alex Smith of quarterbacks and do the same thing that he did for Mahomes? I don't know. But Chiefs, I mean, they do feel like that Humphries is a type of character that can be a help to them with their young guys. Mark, Najee Johnson just needs more playing time under his belt, in my opinion. Perhaps Spags plays more zone overall moving forward and runs more line games, maybe. Thoughts? I mean, Nick, let's give Najee one benefit here. He's still a really young player. I mean, he's got a few hundred snaps under his belt as an NFL player, as a cornerback. And I wish I could remember who it was so I could acknowledge them. But someone I saw posted today, what Jalen Watson's numbers were through the first, I think 400 odd snaps of his NFL career and the first 400 odd snaps of Najee Johnson's NFL career. And they're pretty similar. I mean, not very good for either one of them, but just goes to show, I mean, that Najee's still a young player. He's got, I mean, we really don't know what he is yet.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's having a tough time right now. And like, he's getting a lot thrown at him by quarterbacks, literally. And he's doing the best that he can at this current time. So all the Chiefs coach staff can do is keep coaching him up. The biggest thing that can make the difference is pass rush. That can help him more than anything else.
There you go. Let's see here. Where was I? Because Steam Demon's got a question that I'm going to look up real quick to clarify. So I was going to try and get you a question, Nick, that you can answer. And be all yours. So, I can give part of this answer too, but I this is a good one for you. From John, thoughts on Eric Fisher's playing time with the Chiefs and play as left tackle? Was he worth the first overall pick in 2013?
Well, do you want me to go first? Or you want to go first?
You go first.
All right. So I'll stall for Matt while he tries to find these numbers in that press release the Chiefs sent us on maybe Sunday.
Wow, that's the producer in you.
Yeah, maybe Sunday. I don't know. I think sometime around 7:30 before they got on their flight. Maybe in post-game notes, subject line. But anyways,
already have it open. So
there you go. In terms of Eric Fisher, I mean that's who they went with because DeAndre Hopkins was in that same draft. He was in that same first round and everything. And when you look at that overall draft class, it wasn't necessarily. For the Chiefs to have the first overall pick, it didn't turn into what you would expect in terms of what other years had. Because I remember when I looked at it at the time, the big thing that was going on was everybody was asking about between Lane Johnson, who was the young, athletic but inexperienced offensive lineman, Luke Jokel, who people said was a surefire can't miss, and then Eric Fisher, who was the small school kid from Central Michigan that a lot of people did not think was necessarily polished. But when I watched his tape, he had a mean streak. He had high athletic ability, and I knew he fit what Andy Reid and them were looking for. And if you look at that overall class from that year, I'm just going to go in order here real quick. Eric Fisher was first overall. Then you had Luke Jokel, Deion Jordan, Lane Johnson. So offensive tackles went in the top four. Then Ezekiel Anza, Mingo from the Browns, Jonathan Cooper, Tavon Austin. That was a really high for Tavon Austin to be a gadget player. D. Milner, You had Chance Warmack, that was a solid tackle. You had DJ Fluker, that's a really good tackle. Might have actually used easily. Well, Lane's still playing for the Eagles. Then you had Sheldon Richardson, okay, Star Lotulelei from the Panthers. Then you had Kenny Vaccaro, had a solid career. EJ Manuel did not. Jarvis Jones had okay pass rush, but he got hurt enough that it never materialized. Eric Reed, Justin Reed's brother, had a solid career, more of an enforcer. Justin Pugh was okay as a tackle. Kyle Long had the injuries in his leg as an offensive lineman. Tyler Eifert never really kind of hit that ceiling. Desmond Trufant never really hit that ceiling. Sharif Floyd, serviceable. Bjorn Warner, the DN from Florida State at the Colts, serviceable. Xavier Rhodes, okay. Dante Jones, okay. DeAndre Hopkins at 27th is probably the best player in that class outside of Lane Johnson. And both of them are still playing. And Sylvester Williams was okay. Had some, discipline issues, I'd say. Then Cordell Patterson, that's still kind of bouncing around the league. Alex Ogletree, linebacker. Travis Frederick, that was a good center for the Cowboys for a while. And then Elam from the Ravens. But when you go through that whole list, at the end of the day, DeAndre Hopkins and Lane Johnson were the two best players from the 32 selections that year. And, Eric Fisher had a long career here in Kansas City, did what needed to be done, very athletic guy, and had a ton of pressure on him his rookie year, and had to sit on the bench a little bit at one point to where they had Jeff Schwartz out there and Donald Stevenson as well, and then Brandon Albert stayed at left tackle, and they moved Fisher to right tackle. They had Fisher at right tackle at some point, and then they finally, gave him a rest too and let him learn because Fisher had a lot of bad habits his rookie year. He worked through some of them during his career, but some of them he maintained his entire career. But he was so athletic that he got away with stuff that Wanye and Kingsley can't.
Yeah, I will always contend that, hey, the consensus number one pick was either Eric Fisher or Luke Jokel. It was not a great draft. You went down through the first round. You would have had to have been very prescient in order to move Lane Johnson or DeAndre Hopkins up to the top two picks in the draft. Nobody else was doing that. So I don't think you can, blame the Chiefs for not seeing that those two guys should have been maybe at the top of the draft because nobody else had them at the top of the draft. But there was a consensus 1 and 2. Chiefs got it right. They got the player right. Fisher had a much better career than Jokel was. Fisher helped you get the 2 Super Bowls, won one of them. To me, that's a slam dunk. I've got no problem saying that was the right pick, and Chiefs should never second guess it. If it was all to do over again, done the same thing. The only thing you can say in 2020 hindsight is, sure, maybe you take Lane Johnson or DeAndre Hopkins, but that's total hindsight because nobody else had those two guys going top 2. But Steeman, yes, to clarify your question and everything, Tony had 111 touchdowns overall. Right now, Tony and Travis are tied with 76 in Chiefs history. And Mahomes is tied with, I had him on your head, 227, I want to say. I should I'll go back and look it up, Nick, so that I'm not just pulling things out of my behind. You thought I was going to say a bad word. I did not. What? Yeah, 237. So Mahomes and Len Dawson have 237. Why I brought this up, Nick, is that if Mahomes' next touchdown pass is to Travis Kelce, then that ball is going to be both Mahomes breaking Len Dawson's franchise record for touchdown passes and Travis breaking Tony Gonzalez's record for touchdown catches. What do you do with the ball?
It's going in the Chiefs Hall of Fame.
That's my vote. So
it's going in the Chiefs Hall of Fame. They'll both get footballs if they even care, which I don't think they will. That'll be painted, the painted football that's got the franchise accomplishment. They'll both get a football, and that'll be the end of that. There
you go. Yes. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, yes, the Chiefs, I'm guessing other teams do this, but the Chiefs really do it. Yes, they put together commemorative footballs for just about every single accomplishment that have what the player did, the date, the game, all of those details on it. And some players have quite a few of those balls. So I imagine that the number that they have probably diminishes the impact of each individual football. There's some guys only have one, so they mean a lot to them.
You know what else diminishes the impact of that football?
What's that?
Championship ring.
Well, that too. Although I had a great conversation last week with Leo Chenal about the football that he blocked against the Broncos and what happened to that football. And Shamari, because Josh Williams had it, he recovered it. It squirted out of his hands. Jaden Hicks grabbed it and recovered it. He gave it to equipment manager Jay Wright, who then made sure that Leo got the football. So Leo has the football. And I asked him what he did with it, and he said he put it in his safe. And I'm like, well, what else is in the safe? And he's like, well, my Super Bowl rings, and he's like the jersey that Travis Kelce signed for him that day, because Travis gave him his game jersey signed from that Broncos game, because Leo was always wanted one, and he finally felt like, since that was the moment to ask Travis, as if, hey, can I have that jersey and your autograph? And so that's in the safe. So the football is in there with the jersey and the Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, we could have just set up sorted items on that one for a specific reason.
It's in the safe. It's in the safe
for a specific reason.
It's in the safe, Nick. It's locked up. So very clear. Oh,
I'm not going any further publicly with that one.
All I'm saying. Kelly, do you see an issue with how Spags builds his defense? Kelly believes the lack of athletes in the front seven is hurting the defense. Your thoughts, Nick?
I guess Steve Spagnuolo is working with what he's got. So I know earlier you guys were talking about snap counts and everything for the defensive line, why they have too many and everything. The reason they have too many is because the guys behind them can't rush the passer as effectively. So, like, those guys are getting a bunch of snaps that you maybe don't want them to have, but they're going to have until hopefully Charles Omenihu can come back and help have an impact that gets them off the field quicker. And that somebody starts winning their one-on-ones while Chris is taking on double teams so that they can get off the field quicker and they can all have less snaps because they're not on the field longer, having 10, 12, 15 play drives that are causing those massive amounts of snap numbers. So that's, Steve Spagnuolo's got a way that he likes to build that defense, and they're with what they've had available, they're trying to do it and how he sees it or how he wants it. And it is what it is.
Yeah, remember this. It's essentially, outside of a few pieces here and there, Charles Omenihu from last year, I guess Frank Clark from 2022. You're largely talking about the same guys being as part of the front seven, and they had 55 sacks the last two seasons. And by and large, it was the exact same group outside of, Charles Omenihu. And once again, Charles Omenihu missed the first 6 games of last season too. So it's largely the same group. So I don't know. I'm not sure I can buy that, but I'm with Nick. I do think that the injuries and the rotation this year has been different, and they're tired. I do think that front seven has been, and the front four specifically, has really been worn out. I think they're still pretty deep, and I think they've got some good athletes. So I'm not sure if that's what I see as the problem, Kelly, but you know what, Nick, your mileage may vary.
Dang right it might.
That's right. Martine has always wondered, has a player ever injured a player on an opposing team on purpose? I don't don't need to say why I'm curious about this. Do I? Crazy thought, but I've never heard of anything like that. There's probably a possibility of one situation that I'm missing where somebody really went headhunting, and probably not talking about in the last 25 years, because I think things have certainly changed in the NFL. I know there's stories about Marty Schottenheimer's days and Chiefs and Raiders, that's another era. But I don't know. What do you think, Nick? I just don't see it happening in today's game.
I have no comment on any of it.
Okay, then I won't parse that one out for you.
There's nothing to gain by answering that question, honestly.
Well,
all it causes me is headaches and no thanks.
All right, Martin. Well, Martin, if you do want to do any search on Marty Schottenheimer, the 1990 Chiefs and Raiders, that'll give you probably the best answer you're going to get. Fano, why does the staff stick with Nazi and Joshua Williams? You can see that they've never had enough talent, and yet they continue to struggle. Stick to larger schools in the draft, Brett. Pano, usually I'm usually with you, Pano, but this one I may have to go in a different direction because I think they drafted both those guys for different reasons. I mean, Nazi was a big school guy that had maybe a higher floor but a lower ceiling, and Josh Williams was the small school guy that had maybe the lower floor but the higher ceiling. I mean, they went two different directions there, and I mean, I still think the jury's out on Nazi. So, I mean, he still hasn't played enough to really get the verdict on him. But I don't think Josh Williams, I don't think the problem was when he went to a small school, though.
Look, I mean, Dave Merritt does a great job developing players, so he's helping. When a player's been here for 4 years, they've reached their ceiling with Dave Merritt, no matter where their performance level's at whenever they leave. So that's probably where their ceiling's at because of the way Dave Merritt coaches them. So that's who they've got right now. That's who is available. That's their next best guys in line. So those are the guys that are going to play.
There you go. I kind of unofficially started lightning round, Nick, so I didn't announce it, but it is 8:17 and I'm at 7:33 on questions, so might as well start lightning round. Kenneth, will Clyde Edwards-Helaire play this year?
He's been inactive every week.
He has been. I'm still in the maybe category. You never know what's going to happen. But he has been inactive every week. So, there you go. Sharon asks, realistic adjustments Jawan Taylor can make to improve this season, e.g. narrow the hole between him and Trey. I mean, Nick, you've kind of talked about this a little bit, about just kind of the, maybe disconnect on that side of the line that maybe we see sometimes between Jawan and Trey and assignments.
If it was going to get fixed, it would have got fixed the past 2 years. I'm just going to say it bluntly. It's been the problem for 2 years. If it was going to get fixed, it would have gotten fixed already.
And, I mean, honestly, some things like this, you don't fix in season. I mean,
in all fairness, Matt, they didn't fix out of season either because they're still doing them.
Well, and that's the point. It's like if they didn't fix it during the off season, I don't think you're certainly going to fix it in season.
The reality is Jawan got paid. And if he wants to play however he wants to play, he's going to play however he wants to play. And there's nothing anybody can do about it.
But he did make adjustments to how he lines up in the off season. That he didn't do a real good job of making that adjustment during the season last year, but he did make significant adjustments in the off season. So it's possible, but in-season adjustments for some players can be very difficult. Is that the diplomatic way to put it?
Whatever feels right in your heart, man.
Okay, John's asking about one of the guys that would worry me on Friday. Do you think Brock Bowers' explosive numbers against the Chiefs defense?
Brock Bowers is really good. He's got a really big problem, though.
His quarterback is...
Whoever his quarterback is, they're not going to be accurate when throwing the ball. Minshew had a much more better chance of being accurate, and Aiden O'Connell was dumb enough to say publicly today that his hand's not 100%. So good job on that one. And then you got Ritter on top of it. So, yeah, I mean, like Brock Bowers is an insane talent, very talented player. Would have loved to see him be dropped to the Chiefs, and they could have drafted him, but he's the next great tight end that's coming down the road as long as he can stay healthy, and he'll be that next guy after Kittle and Kelsey. So he has the chance to have a really good game and be a tough guy to cover for the Chiefs secondary, but the biggest problem in his way is the quarterback throwing him the ball right now.
I mean, he's an incredible player, and I'm with you there. I'm just, even when you talk about how he can be the next great tight end, I'm like, gosh, yeah, he can be if the Raiders don't screw up the quarterback again. But I know you don't think that they will. That Tom will get everything fixed eventually.
I don't think Antonio Pierce has long left in Oakland. So,
Alex, are there any season outcomes that can be considered a success if the Chiefs don't win a Super Bowl?
Unfortunately, with the standard the Chiefs have raised and what they're chasing this year, they won't see it that way, and fans won't see it that way, and fans will start asking the questions again about Brett Veach's draft classes. Did the Chiefs do enough? Why didn't they do enough at this spot or that spot, or whatever moment happens that if it hypothetically potentially costs them that opportunity? So it's going to go one way or it's going to go the other way.
I mean, I don't say this very often, but this is the one of the scenarios where I would absolutely say that if this team doesn't win a Super Bowl, it's not a success. I mean, that's the only thing that this team wants to do. And it's the one time that you want. When you get a chance to three-peat, I mean, that's all there is. I mean, then there's no other team in the NFL that you can say this about. I mean, if the Detroit Lions don't win the Super Bowl this year, is the season still a success? Yeah, because this is the best season in Detroit Lions history.
Yeah.
I mean, if Buffalo doesn't, I mean, is it a success? I mean, considering all of the turmoil that they had and turnover that they had this year, I would say that this has been a success for Buffalo. I mean, unless they just fall off the shelf in the last few weeks of the season, this has been a very good season. It's been a successful season to me if I'm Buffalo.
Matt, why were they on the shelf to begin with? What were they doing up there?
It's a good question. Why did I put them on the shelf?
Are they like an elf? They're watching the rest of the NFL leagues, judging them.
Excellent question. And Alex had a second follow-up to this, which I really like too. This is a little bit maybe more open-ended question, more broad answer here. Would a Super Bowl loss hurt Mahomes' legacy more than not making it this year? I mean, I don't know. My philosophy on it is that one individual Super Bowl year, not winning one or losing one, whatever it may be, isn't going to hurt Mahomes. The only thing that's going to impact Mahomes' legacy is how many he ends up with. If he ends up with 7 or more, he's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. If he ends up with less than 7, he's going to be the second best quarterback of all time.
Here's the reality. If he gets the trifecta, if they win the trifecta, again, like I said earlier, he has something that Brady does not. And that will be the new argument. Is Mahomes has something that Montana doesn't have, that Brady doesn't have, that Terry Bradshaw doesn't have, that Matt Damon doesn't have, that anybody you can think of doesn't have. Like the biggest thing I'm getting at right here is if the Chiefs can complete the Super Bowl victory this year and hit the trifecta, they have put themselves in the sports stratosphere at a level that can be talked about with some of those Yankees teams, some of those Bulls teams. So, it'll be bigger than just the NFL. That's what I hope people understand about that.
Since I get very fixated, and I don't always get to the comments as they're happening in real time, and then I come to them later. I'm really enjoying the ones about your rant, Nick, from earlier. So I'm just giving them a little bit of props and everything. But to piggyback on that question, though, I'll say it again, what I've said before. The same thing is true not only for Mahomes, but for other people on this team. I mean, there are going to be people who go to the Hall of Fame because they won 3 Super Bowls in a row with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I don't know how you keep Chris Jones out of the Hall of Fame if the Chiefs win a Super Bowl this year.
Right.
I mean, we already know Travis Kelce's in. We already know Andy Reid's in. They do this. Brett Veach is in the Hall of Fame at some point.
Should be, and then
Clark Hunt. Harrison Butker will probably be. I mean, he probably needs a few more years of high performance, but
he'll have been there
he's on track.
He'll have been a kicker for every single one of those Super Bowls. And if you think about how many Super Bowls he won, there's only a handful of other kickers that'll be able to say that and have been in those high pressure moments and delivered some of those kicks.
Yep. And And there might be other guys that are just the beginning of it. I mean, hey, Creed Humphrey is a few more seasons away from being able to say, hey, you know what? He's a 6-time Pro Bowler and he's got 4 rings. He won 3 in a row. He's going in. I mean, it's entirely possible that you see how many guys from the Chiefs run of going to Super Bowl 1 and Super Bowl 4 got guys gold jackets back then. If you win 3 in a row, I mean, there's a dozen people in this organization who are going to the Hall of Fame. It's all. I mean, I'll bank on that. At least we might get Frank Clark in the Hall of Fame, Nick.
Let's not get reckless with our words.
I was just being cocky there. Let's see. Oh, I could really get you on a rant here, Nick. Do you want to? You want to go on a rant?
I'm not ranting on that one, but I'll answer it.
Go for it.
Look, Brian Cook, I think he's still recovering from that ankle injury they had against the Green Bay Packers. It's not even a year ago yet, since it happened on that Sunday Night Football game up in Green Bay. So I think he's lost some of his explosiveness. He's lost some of his acceleration, and that's not a knock on him. It's just a matter of where he's at physically right now. I'm curious to see where he's at this time next year, but right now he does have some matchup problems when teams go against him, and that's another thing that some opponents are going to attack come playoff time.
I copy that, and I go back and remind everybody too. I mean, I don't think that the Chiefs did him a ton of justice when that injury happened, because I think they were trying to play a little gamesmanship with making teams think that, oh, Brian Cook might be back and everything, because they played the little game of Brian Cook has a sprained ankle and maybe he'll be back for the Super Bowl. No, the dude had surgery on that same ankle back in college, had a plate in it. The plate was the only reason why that ankle injury was not even worse, but he refractured it, had surgery again. He had to have tightrope surgery on that, which is a minimum 3-month recovery. And remember, go back, Brian Cook was not back on the field until into training camp. He wasn't on the field for OTAs. He was out for 6 months. I mean, that is a legitimate, you're talking about like an ACL type recovery. So when you consider all of that, and like I said, I think the Chiefs did him a little bit of disservice by diminishing the extent of the injury last year for gamesmanship, because I think it got into everybody's mind, oh, well, it was just an ankle sprain. It wasn't that big of a deal. No, this was a 6-month recovery. And any 6-month recovery, you are not 100% in year one. You're just not. To me, next year is the real prove it year for Brian Cook. And if he can return next year and show the same traits that he had in year one as a rookie, everything will be fine. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed to happen, but wait till next year. That's where that's when the verdict's going to come in on Brian Cook to me. So Nick's rants are the best. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And Nick, you were getting your answers on all the things you need for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, no, I saw him live.
All the stuffing. Well, see, you do the stuffing with turkey. Scott's getting a fried turkey, which the fried turkey is very good. If you haven't had fried turkey, you need to have fried turkey. Mm-hmm. There you go. Cody's just having food. Which I approve of. And yes, I need the mashed potatoes. Nick, I am in charge of making sweet potatoes for Thanksgiving.
What are you going to do with these sweet potatoes?
They are going to be candied sweet potatoes, so they will be oven roasted with butter and brown sugar.
Okay.
Half of them will be covered with pecans. Okay. And then roasted for a little bit with them, and then half will not, because I'm allergic to pecans and I don't want those nasty little things anywhere near my sweet potatoes.
All right.
But for the pecan lovers out there, they get them on their side.
So is Nancy going to put the pecans on, or do you have to wear a mask and gloves when you do it? Or
I'm not that allergic. I don't break out in a rash or anything.
All right. You just told me allergic, and my mind went
bad.
Places.
It's just bad things happen if I eat pecans, and the worst things happen the more I eat. So we'll just leave it at that.
That's fine.
And Brandon, yes, Nancy right now is making a spiced cake that has eggnog in it. So eggnog season is technically here. And
I saw it at the store for the past month now.
And Jeremy, I don't know. I mean, the in-laws are in charge of everything else for Thanksgiving. If there are not deviled eggs involved, I may have to come home and make deviled eggs, because deviled eggs are, to me, pretty important. And Derrick's going to have tamales.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a solid answer. I mean, I got nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with some good tamales.
Matt, I don't know if you know, but the Chiefs waived defenseman Cameron Thomas today.
I was aware of that.
The Chiefs reinstated tight end Baylor Cup to the practice squad from practice squad/injury list. I don't know if you saw that, but that was on the bottom line.
I did see that. Okay, Brian wants to know who's the officiating crew. Have you seen who the officiating crew is this week?
Yeah, I looked it up when I saw his question. It's Clay Martin.
There you go. So another week of dodging Carl Cheffers.
Yeah, Carl's not as bad. I mean, Carl's still bad, but that crew they had last week was downright terrible.
That was a rough week. I mean, I didn't think that was that bad of a crew, but they had a rough week.
No, it was a bad crew. I missed a lot on both sides of the ball, and that was a bad crew.
They did do that. There was a lot of things to not like about this.
So the people that are wondering who the heck is Clay Martin, he was the ref for the Steelers-Ravens game last Sunday. So when things started getting physical and personal, and personal fouls had to be called and everything, Clay and his crew were there for it. So that means they're going to let some stuff slide with Max and Mahomes and some other people, and then things will get out of hand, and then they'll have to throw some penalties to corral things.
KC Chiefs, 12. I've got my eye on you. I see your little jokes there. So. Okay, Brandon. Do the Chiefs have 2 new tackles next season, Nick?
I think they're gonna have to make some decisions at left tackle next season, but Jawan Taylor's getting paid too much money to not be the right tackle next year.
This is correct. Yes, Jawan is not going anywhere for one more season. So the option and the out in his contract is for one more year. So I have no idea what's going to be the left tackle situation next year. I
don't think they do either right now.
I don't think that they do either. So,
but I think they know it's got to be one of their top 3 priorities. It's got to be their number 1 priority. But there's a couple other priorities we'll talk about in the off season when we do these shows throughout the year. We're gonna need the content then. We don't need it now.
Exactly. If not for no other reason, then I couldn't even at this point. I've got so many other things in my head, in my mind, that I couldn't even tell you who are going to be the free agent left tackles in March.
Yeah. Don't worry, I've already looked for you.
John, how do you feel about Noah Gray's season so far? He has raised his level of play this year, or is he benefiting more from the gravity of other receivers? Very well worded question there, John. I mean, I think he's elevated his play, Nick. Am I crazy?
He's had a good couple weeks. And he showcased some athletic ability. He does all the small things right. He'll extend his arms out to catch. He protects the football. You can tell he's taking coaching from Tom Melvin and watching Travis Kelce all these years really well. And he does all the little things right, and all those have added up to him having the success he's had. Now, am I still frustrated with him as a run blocker? Yes. Will I be frustrated with him as a run blocker next year? Yes. Will I be frustrated with him as a run blocker until his contract ends? Probably so. But athletically, he's grown a lot from when he first got here.
I wholeheartedly agree, and he's having a career year. He's going to have the best numbers across the board. I mean, he's basically either matched or exceeded his numbers. I think the only thing he hasn't yet done, I think it's catches. I think he has 27 catches on the year. 28 is his career high. So barring a disaster, he should be able to clear that one fairly easily. I mean, Brett Veach, if you were going to get the extension done for Noah Gray, you did it at the right time, because an extension for him right now in March would look a lot differently than the one that they signed in August. So give it to Brett Veach for buying at the right time. Total Football, is Kelce a first ballot Hall of Famer? Yes. I mean, I'm not crazy, Nick, right?
Yeah, I don't even know why that's a question.
I mean, I get that the voting for the Pro Football Hall of Fame is nonsensical at times, and the selection process can be absolutely mind-boggling. But even they're not going to get that wrong.
Well, Luttrell really said some. He put a graphic image out there.
Uh-oh.
Not what you want to read during the holiday season. But all right.
Uh-oh. Well, Brian, is there anything wrong with Brian Cook's arms?
I have no idea, and I haven't seen him on injury report with it, so couldn't tell
I think
you.
you were just talking just maybe metaphorically. I mean, does he have trouble wrapping up?
It isn't something that stuck out to me personally.
There you go. Nick, what are you thankful for?
That I'm alive.
Oh, wow.
and that I didn't get hit by this bus that Luttrell mentioned in a comment section.
Dang, Luttrell. Haven't gotten to that part yet. Oh, I see that. What if you get hit by a bus? I mean, that is kind of grim. I don't want to think about that.
Yeah. So that's fun.
Well, I'm more positive, Nick. I'm Mr. Optimism over here.
Glad to hear it.
Because I'm thankful for good friends like yourself, because I'm very fortunate to have Nick as a friend and be a supporter. I could not do as many of the things that I do without Nick. I mean, I couldn't do the podcast. The live stream wouldn't be the same. And Nick is also just a good friend and a counsel, so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for all the people who are here tonight, because, I mean, let's face it, this is my business, and I wouldn't be making any money if you folks weren't here and reading Chiefs Digest and everything. So I'm grateful for that. I guess I'm also grateful to be alive, although there's some days, Nick, it's not always great, but
I don't know. I mean, just stay away from Luttrell, apparently.
I'm grateful for fried turkey, although I have not had fried turkey in a while. So, total football. Will Noah ever be on Kelsey's prime level? Well, no, nobody's ever going to be on Kelsey's prime level. I mean, but I think Noah's on a level on his own.
He's a serviceable tight end.
Yes, avoid the buses, Nick.
Just digging that hole deeper there, Luttrell.
Martine, do you know what this is? What Martine's referencing there too?
I have no idea what she's talking about.
All right, Martine, tell us more about what you're talking about there and the specifics, and we'll see what we can get in there for you. Brandon, Hall of Fame on our team: GM, coach, quarterback, tight end, DC, defensive tackle, left guard, wide receiver. DeAndre Hopkins, yes. I mean, won't be remembered for his Chiefs career, but he's a Hall of Famer. Chris Jones, yes. Joe Thuney, very likely, especially in with as many rings as he's going to have. Steve Spagnuolo is going to be a fight. Steve Spagnuolo will be one that gets debated for a long, long time. But he's going to have a lot of rings. He's going to have a lot of rings.
The bigger. Oh man, it just keeps digging that hole deeper. Just digging that hole deeper.
There you go. Taking care of you, Nick. Thanks, Luttrell. We appreciate you.
Just maybe lay low from the idea for a little bit, okay? Maybe do that. The bigger question you have to ask is, for anybody that ever belongs in the Hall of Fame, and I know it's been said time and time again, can you tell the story of the NFL or football with or without them? Do they have to be a necessity in it? That's the question.
That's a good frame of reference. So, how would you feel about Steve Spagnuolo?
I think when we talked about legacy earlier and being part of the three-peat and all those type of things, what Steve Spagnuolo's claim to fame will be till the end of time. And I see the comment section, and they just keep going with it, man. Holy heck, it won't end. Is I don't need an Uber. I have my own vehicle. Like, I don't know what we're doing here. Steve Spagnuolo is a defensive coordinator that, if I remember correctly, stopped the 19-0. That's and won a Super Bowl. Like, till the end of time, that's one thing he'll always be known for. He stopped the Brady and them from going 19-0. And then if he has the trifecta or the chiefecta on top of it, then it's as long as you have the right person in there presenting and representing and helping people understand how important that is. The argument they'll make at that point is, well, then other coordinators need to be considered down the road and everything. And that's 100% right, because if you can't tell the story of football without those coordinators, then they probably should have been in the Hall of Fame too. And that should become its own class and its own category.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, I think there's going to be a legitimate debate about Spags, because there's no pure coordinator that's in the Hall of Fame for just being a coordinator. So it's going to be a fight. It's not going to be easy, but his number of rings is going to make it difficult. And the crazy thing is that if the Chiefs win another ring this year, I think that's going to be 7 rings for Brendan Daly. Now, Brendan Daly's not going to the Hall of Fame unless he, goes on to put some other things on the resume. But that dude's got a lot of rings, Nick.
He certainly does.
Yes. And yes, Martine, I know some of the others mentioned it. Now that you identified it correct, what it is, you're absolutely correct. Yeah. It is turf tape. So it is tape that players wear to try and protect themselves if they go skidding or sliding on the ground. It's not just for wearing on AstroTurf. They'll wear it on grass too, even some of the synthetic surfaces, because those things can absolutely give you some nasty abrasions and burns and bruises and everything. That some of them may also be wearing it because it is used for like inflammation and injuries and everything like that. So there could be some other purposes, but primarily, yeah, that tape that you're talking about, it's turf tape to just prevent bruising and injuries and just impacting with the turf and abrasions and all that stuff. Yeah, road rash, as Brian also did the discussion there. There's no team in the Hall of Fame. So, Chris, I can't imagine that, them doing that for an entire team.
No, and also the team that technically does a three-peat, not all of them will have been there the entire run. So you're not going to do that.
Yeah. It's not the Missouri State Sports Hall of Fame where, I think my, high school, I got cut from the team, Nick, so I didn't play for them, but I think they got inducted into the State Sports Hall of Fame, but.
All right, glass half empty. Love it.
Like I said, at least I got cut. Yes, Luttrell, we know what Jerome Bettis' nickname is. All right. Well, last call. If there are any more questions or any more, discussions
any more
about
legitimate questions, yes.
Any more discussions about what Luttrell's apparently threatening to do with Nick? I don't know what's going on here.
Good Lord, man!
I've lost all control.
Oh my goodness.
So how will you be celebrating your Thanksgiving, Nick?
I don't know, Matt. I'm going to keep that information private right now.
Wasn't asking for like a location or anything.
I don't know, man. Luttrell's got ideas, man.
Luttrell needs a lawyer.
Gonna have to lay low and find myself a safe house at this point, man.
Okay, Stephen Demon, I love this. For laughs, what's the actual color of your T-shirt? I'm guessing dark blue, but on screen it looks like you're wearing Raider black cloth. Okay, this is probably because Ryan Tracy had me set my lights earlier today, and so he set up he told me what to have over my lighting and everything. So I realize it does look like it's pretty dark, because here's the crazy thing. This is a green. I guess a forest green hoodie. It's not even a T-shirt. It's,
never would have guessed that.
It's forest green, so I can brighten up the light here, and You can probably
wow. No,
see it's a little bit more green there.
wow.
Now I can't hear any of you because I leaned over and unplugged my microphone, my headphones. So let me adjust that real quick. We're back.
I can actually see that you're not in like a one of those. What was it? A photo room where there's no lighting. It's just red light. So you're like, hey, I'll turn my light up, and I'm like, oh, hey, it's a house. I'll be dead.
It's a house. Well, I mean, I trusted Ryan because he's an expert in the field of photography and lighting and these kinds of things.
I'm not doubting him.
I had some concerns, but he thought it lighted my face well. But that was also daylight when I was getting some sun coming in.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame.
I may have just
you left the key part out there.
I may have just dragged Ryan under the bus for no reason and everything when he probably would have looked at this and said,
and what vehicle did you just use?
Okay, so
holy heck, man.
I guess it's the bus is here to stay, Nick. I mean, let's face it.
No, it's not.
So yes, if you can tell my black hat with my
that vehicle is going to be out of commission after the show.
So definitely not black, Steam and Demon. So we're okay there. And then I have a T-shirt on, which is actually lighter green, but there you go. Yes, no, I'm no longer in the cave, Brandon. You got it. Oh. All right. One last question. Any thoughts on the Niners-Bills matchup and Ravens-Eagles, Nick?
I think the Ravens will lose to the Eagles. The Niners are so hurt right now. The Bills are coming off a bye week. It'll be interesting to see. One, they need Brock Purdy to play, and two, they need Christian McCaffrey to be healthy and play, and they need a lot of the Niners need everybody, because at the end of the day, this upcoming week is the Niners season. So the two teams that it's their season right now, and decides if they're gonna go fishing here in a couple weeks, or or go to some exotic location or whatnot. It's the Miami Dolphins. It's the San Francisco 49ers. Like this week right now determines how the Niners season is going to go, because as you and I chatted earlier, like the injuries have exposed a lot for them. Because you got the Bills this week, then they have the Bears, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Lions, the Cardinals. Holy heck. Yeah, they gotta win. They gotta win this Bills game, because that Rams one's gonna be tough. Dolphins one will be 50-50. That Lions one, they probably aren't winning, and that Cardinals one, Cardinals probably need that to either capture the NFC West or get themselves a better seed in the NFC playoffs.
Yeah, I this time of year I start going with the teams that have more rest. So Ravens coming off Monday night, bad for them, could be tough. And Eagles are scary. So and Bills and 49ers, yeah, the 49ers are just so banged up. I mean, and the Bills coming off a bye week, can't beat that. So, and remember, I mean, Chiefs could clinch a playoff spot on Friday if the Dolphins lose on Thursday night and the Chiefs beat the Raiders on Friday.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Someone tried to say that Purdy's out, and I'm looking, and they haven't ruled him out yet. But the fact they're doing ordering a second set of MRIs, that's not good.
All right, Nick, any final parting thoughts?
No. I'm Luttrell decided to rattle me, so I would just love to see that promo one more time on.
I was going to say, I'm going to unravel you on the way out with the promo one more time. Everybody, have a great week. Have a great Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We'll see you on Friday after the game with 41 is the mic.
One more from Unsullied at 8:49 there.
Oh, there you go.
When they're talking about Jalen Watson.
There you go. Chance Watson back for the playoffs? No.
I'm sorry. You sounded like me on a lot of questions.
Yeah, I turned into Nick here at this point in the broadcast. No, it's a 3-month injury, 12 weeks. So with a recovery time and everything like that, no. I mean, Chiefs are ruling him out for the rest of the season. I mean, I know he wants to come back. He's not giving up, but the Chiefs are not betting on it. So,
and congratulations to everybody in the comment section. And if anything does happen, you're now technically accessories before the fact. So that would be a podcast first.
All right. We're gonna get out of here, Nick, before we have to turn this over to the authorities. So everybody have a great week. We're gonna see you on Friday for 41 is the mic.
We're back, and do we have a deal for you? Black Friday is coming, and this will make it the best one yet. From the station that brought you the opening night triumph over Baltimore, it's the Chiefs versus the Las Vegas Raiders on KSHB 41. I know you're asking, Mick, that's great, but how much is it going to cost? Not a thing. No, tune in to KSHB 41 Friday.